The Bible verse that got me through the loneliest night of my life. There are nights when the silence doesn't comfort you. It consumes you. Nights when the walls feel too close, the air too still, and your own breathing sounds unfamiliar. I've had those nights. The kind where you sit with yourself and no one else. No notifications. No footsteps in the hallway. Just the sound of a clock you hadn't noticed before. It was 2:07 a.m. The kind of hour where even the moon seems to look away. The room was dim. My phone hadn't lit up in hours. And for some reason, my chest felt heavier than it should. It wasn't panic. It wasn't sadness. Just that quiet ache. The kind that shows up when you're tired of pretending to be okay. I didn't cry. I didn't pray with eloquence. I just whispered. To the dark, to the ceiling, maybe to God. If you're there, say something. He didn't answer. Not with a voice. Not with a sign. But then, I remembered something. A verse. One I hadn't read in years. I didn't remember the chapter. Or the context. Just 10 words. And they came back to me. Like a voice you hadn't heard in a long, long time. But somehow still knew by heart. I will never leave you nor forsake you. Hebrews 13 verse 5. Just 10 words. But that night, they didn't feel like ink on a page. They felt like breath. In a world where everything feels temporary. Where people leave. Where love fades. Where even your own confidence seems to come and go. Those 10 words stood still. I will never leave you. Not if you're good enough. Not if you never mess up again. Not even if you remember to pray. Just never. No condition. No contract. No expiration date. That word, never, wrapped around my chest like a blanket I didn't know I needed. It didn't take the loneliness away. But it told me I wasn't truly alone. And then there was that other word. Forsake. It's not a word we use much anymore. But it carries weight. It means to leave someone behind. In their darkest moment. To walk away, when they need you most. And God's promise, that even then, especially then, He won't. Not when you're falling apart. Not when you've stopped believing. Not when the room is silent and your heart is louder than your thoughts. That verse didn't shout. It didn't sparkle. It just stayed. And in a night where everything else felt like it was drifting, those words became my anchor. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of noise, but because of the silence. It was the kind of quiet that makes your own heartbeat sound too loud. The kind where every second ticks heavier than the last. I felt invisible. Like if I disappeared right then, no one would notice for hours. Maybe days. My friends had their own lives. My phone hadn't lit up in hours. And honestly, I didn't blame anyone. I'd grown good at disappearing. Smiling when needed. Saying, I'm fine, so often that even I started to believe it, until the lights went out. That night, my thoughts weren't kind. Not dangerous. Just heavy. Like carrying 1,000 tiny weights. None big enough to break you, but together, they made it hard to move. I didn't want to end anything, but I didn't know how to keep going either. I wasn't looking for a miracle. I wasn't praying. I wasn't feeling spiritual or brave or anything close to strong. I just reached. There was a Bible on my nightstand. Not because I read it often, but because I couldn't bring myself to put it away. It had been there for years. And in that moment, it felt like the only thing that wasn't too far to touch. I picked it up. Opened it without thinking. Not to any particular page. Just open. And there it was. Hebrews 13 verse 5. Underlined in blue ink. The handwriting looked familiar. Maybe mine, maybe someone else's. I will never leave you nor forsake you. I didn't cry. I didn't even breathe differently. I just stared at the words. They didn't fix anything. They didn't make the weight disappear. But they didn't leave either. And in that moment, what I needed most wasn't answers. It was company. And those 10 words stayed. I realized something that night. Something I hadn't been able to see through the noise. Or the silence. Maybe faith isn't about how much you feel. Maybe it's not about fire or passion or certainty. Maybe faith is about what you're still holding on to. When your hands feel empty. I had felt alone. Deeply. Painfully. But I hadn't been abandoned. And there's a difference. One is how the heart aches. The other is what the soul knows. You can feel completely alone. And still be deeply held. That verse didn't argue with me. It didn't tell me to be stronger. It didn't demand that I get up and try harder. It didn't explain the ache in my chest. It didn't offer a reason for the silence. It simply said, I will never leave you. Not even now. Not even here. And in that moment, I understood something I hadn't before. Maybe God doesn't always rush in to fix the silence. Maybe He doesn't always erase the ache. Maybe He just sits with you in it. Not to take it away, but to remind you that you're not carrying it alone. And somehow, that made all the difference. I wasn't okay yet, but I wasn't as lost. Because someone was still there. Quiet. Present. Steady. If you're in a lonely night, like I was, I want you to know something. You are not forgotten. You are not too far gone. You are not invisible, even if the world has stopped looking your way. Maybe your phone hasn't lit up all day. Maybe no one has asked how you're doing. Maybe the people who once held you have drifted away quietly. But He hasn't. The same God who whispered, I will never leave you nor forsake you, never took those words back. He didn't say them once and walk away. He still keeps them. Tonight. And every night after. Even when you forget. Even when you doubt. Even when your faith feels like a flickering light in the wind. He stays. So if all you can do right now is breathe, that's enough. If all you can do is press play and listen to someone else's story, because yours is too heavy to speak aloud, that's okay too. This space, this little corner of the internet, exists for moments like that. For people like you. For hearts that are tired but still listening. Because here at Hush Journal, we don't shout our faith. We whisper it. We tell stories not to preach, but to remind you. You're not the only one feeling what you feel. You're not the only one carrying something unseen. You are not broken beyond repair. You are not too much. You are not too late. If this story brought you peace, even for a moment, I invite you to subscribe to Hush Journal. Here, you'll find a quiet place to return to. A voice to keep you company. A space where your soul can breathe. And maybe, just maybe, begin to feel whole again. We'll be here. In the quiet. Whenever you're ready. Always.